Hello, this is Hun Jae-young, and I'm the presenter of this week of team number 4. The last week, we talked about the disaster and rescue system that had changed after the terrorist attacks. This week, we'll talk about the problems in the construction of the buildings and how to solve them. First, I'll talk about concrete core. Not only because of the building's height, but also because of the threat of terror, concrete was needed to be stronger than usual to consist the core. So when the core of the building was built, engineers tried to increase the strength of concrete by reducing the water content at the time. In this case, however, the concrete hardens quickly. Fast concrete transportation was essential to solve this problem. Concrete was made and shipped in Brooklyn, New York, near the construction site. It had to be on the site within 90 minutes to prevent the concrete from hardening. It usually took 15 minutes to transport by ready-mixed concrete vehicle to buy time to get on board through vertical transport. And it was used to move concrete on the ground to a high-level construction site using a high-pressure pump. And if people stepped on a cylinder made of this concrete, 1,000 normal people would step on it. That powerful concrete was laid between the levers, which had already been installed, and it was nicknamed liquid steel because of its strength. After this work, One World Trade Center completed a 6-foot thick core made of 500,000 tons of liquid steel. Next, I'll talk about steel structure of the building. Steel structure was being built around the same time as core was built, and it was going before the core about 3 to 4 stories. 45,000 tons of steel was used at the One World Trade Center. 10,000 tons of it was made at Cottsville plant in Pennsylvania. Cottsville plant is a place where scraps, fridges, and even toasters were recycled to make steel bars. The collected iron melted into liquid and was processed into steel bars in huge molds. The recycled steel bars were cut to meet the design needs of the One World Trade Center, each weighing 16 tons and measuring 3 stories high. And at the site, huge cranes lifted these massive 40 feet high steel rebars from the ground to the hundreds feet above. Hundreds feet of raised rebars were positioned by workers who were called raising gang. Positioned reinforcement was secured by another workers. Rebars should have been raised in perfect vertical. A single 0.5-inch figure would cause fatal damage to the building. These fixed revars were finally welded by welding workers. Next, I'll talk about the issues related to people in the process of creating core and frames. When the skyscraper was built, up to 1,200 workers brought things from the bottom by using an uncomfortable hoist that took almost 30 minutes to climb up and down. To solve this problem, during the construction process, simple amenities were provided between rebar structures for the convenience of high-rise workers. Convenience facilities included rest facilities and restaurants for workers. The unique subway store consisted of 9 shipping containers. The 3-story structure, completed with composting equipment for mill space and waste recycling, was located on the hydraulic platform in the center of the building frame. They served fresh bread baked on site, as all other subway do. Another problem with the rise of building was that there were major problems when workers' equipment and construction materials fall to the ground. To prevent that from happening, fireproof steel frames were installed on the upper floors of the building where construction was underway, and this was called the cocoon system. As the building got higher, the cocoon system went up as well. Lastly, we'll talk about the spire. The spire that would be raised at the top of the building was very heavy. The spire was 780 feet long and weighed 708 tons. It was too heavy to be raised at once, so they divided the spire into several parts. The spire was divided into 18 sections. The heaviest section was about 70 tons. 9 sections, made in Montreal, were large and heavy, which were transported from Montreal to Manhattan via the Hudson River. After the shipment was completed, crane lifted segment up to the construction site from the ground. When assembling each piece, the workers made a temporary steel framework to use as a scaffold. It surrounds the spire at every segment. During the construction of the spire, all the engineers and workers went up and down using an exterior elevator installed outside. The engineers had adjusted the position of the segment being raised. It was welded and combined, and by placing the last piece at the symbolic height of 1,776 feet in 9th May 2013, the construction had finally been over. So far, we have talked about the constructive issues in the process of building. Thank you for listening. This was team number 4, One World Trade Center.